Later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are calling the meeting to order. We're calling the meeting to order. Just one more reminder, if you intend to speak, you need to sign in at the podium with your name and your address. Uh, I think I'm going to turn it over to you, Chuck. All right. Okay. We do have a quorum, even though there's only three of us up here. We have two openings that will be filled shortly, but due to the 3 of 5 being here, we do have a quorum and we can conduct business. The next item of business is to select a chairman of the Planning Commission and a vice chairman.
I'd like to make a motion that Dale Green is the chairman of the Blue Ridge Planning Commission.
And I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. All right, how about vice chair?
I'll make a motion that Brian Higgins is vice chair.
You beat me too. I was
That's
gonna
right.
nominate you.
Okay, then, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Here, okay. So, moving forward, I will take the gavel as chairman and Brian is the vice chairman. So, now I'll turn it over to Chuck.
I just wanted to say a quick word. I just wanted to say a quick word about process, sort of how we got where we are, and what the process will be moving forward. As most of you probably know, back in the summer at a work session with the mayor and council, the decision was made to move forward with some proposed changes to the city zoning ordinance. So at the direction of the mayor and council, the city administrator, myself, and a consultant started working on some proposed changes to the city zoning ordinance. Over the last few months, that process has included several additional work sessions where we've gotten additional feedback. And the result of that process is this, which is proposed ordinance number 2023-06, which, if adopted, would make certain changes to the city zoning ordinance. So up until this point, it's been kind of what I would call the informal process. Tonight, we start the formal process, and per state law and per the city's zoning ordinance, there is to be a public hearing as part of this process. And that's why we're here tonight, is to have the public hearing where the public can provide its input on the proposed zoning ordinance changes. The Planning Commission is a recommending body only. They will receive your input tonight, and then they will make a recommendation one way or the other to the mayor and council. The mayor and council will consider the Planning Commission's recommendation next Tuesday night for a first reading, and then the following Tuesday, the 28th, there will be a special call meeting where the mayor and council will decide whether to approve the proposed changes or some of the proposed changes or none of the proposed changes. So that is the process moving forward. As for tonight, state law and the zoning ordinance provide that each side has 10 minutes to address. In consulting with the chairman, the decision has been made tonight to allow 20 minutes per side to address the proposed changes. I suppose if more time is needed, then the chairman probably will entertain a motion to allow more time. Now, if you're not sure what side you're on, we don't want to get caught up on formalities, right? It may be that you support the proposed changes, but maybe not all of them, or it may be that you oppose some of the changes, but not all of them. If you feel like you don't fit neatly within either side, don't worry about it. Just when the opportunity presents itself, get up, state your name, your address, and then share with the Planning Commission whatever it is that's on your mind as it relates to the proposed changes. This public hearing's not typically intended to be a Q&A session, But if the commission has questions for staff, then certainly staff will be prepared to answer them to the best of our ability. And, Mr. Chairman, I think that's all I've got, unless you have anything else.
No, I think you covered everything in the preliminary part of it. So with a large crowd and a limited amount of time, I just want to remind you, it's 20 minutes per side, not 20 minutes per individual. So I'll be ringing the bell if it goes too long. Keep that in mind. And with that, the first speaker on the that signed in is invited to come to the podium. And just to be, the public hearing is now officially open.
All right, thank you, Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Philip Searles. I'm the president of the Beverly J. Searles Foundation. We own 9 acres of trackside in Boardtown that has been. Philip Searles, 4182 Westchester Trace, Roswell, Georgia 30075. We own 9 acres of land in Blue Ridge at the intersection of Boardtown and Trackside. That site has been zoned to develop 90 units of affordable housing, or 90 units of housing. Our intention is to develop affordable housing. I would like to state while I prefer that no changes were made to the zoning at all, as it has been currently presented in the most recent zoning change, we are fine with the changes to R3. I can't speak to anything else because we're not a landowner or anything else, and that's not our dog to hunt. I would also like to point out that from the June 15th, 2021 City Council meeting, there was a unanimous vote to change the unit size requirements, that for the 1,000 square foot requirement for even a one-bedroom unit, the change allows for Section 42 housing to follow state minimums. That was never passed on to the Appalachian Regional Commission. I asked that the city have that formally adopted, or have it sent on to the commission. It's already been adopted to be passed. I would also like to urge caution to this board, as well as any other elected officials in the room, that the current city council is completely new, because the old city council was voted out because of issues with transparency and affordable housing. That if they were to make changes to what has been presented, that will have a serious detriment to our ability to create affordable housing in Blue Ridge. And because there's no public hearings that are allowed at city council meetings anymore, there's a serious lack of transparency between the citizens of Blue Ridge and their elected officials. And I'm going to cede the rest of my time because I know you got a long list. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 2.
Thank you for the opportunity. John Kiefer. I live at 397 Weaver Creek Road, Blue Ridge. Live outside the city, but I own 9 properties inside the city. In the last 5 years, we've invested $18 million in downtown Blue Ridge. We've built a loft condo project, trackside station behind us, the parking garage, which we did in an effort to try to help some of the parking challenges in downtown Blue Ridge. And those of you who have seen Trackside Station probably know it's a 2-story building. We spent an exceptional amount of time trying to make that building look just like East Main as best we could in a new building. Has all the latest, greatest fire protection, sprinklers, alarm system. But that building's 41 feet high. It's a 2-story building. Commercial spaces, when you subtract the depth of the bar joist and the HVAC and the ductwork, to build a trackside station in 30 feet just would never happen. We would not have built that project based upon the proposed height restrictions that y'all are looking at. In addition, concerned about the other revisions to the ordinance. If you look at the new development on the west side of Main Street, from Jose's building at the end of the town, the hotel, the loft condo project, trackside station, the garage behind me. You know, you're probably approaching $35 or $40 million in new investment in the last 5 years. That is new property tax, It generates sales tax from the revenue from the stores. The majority of the hotel motel tax that goes into the city, all this new development has brought tremendous sources of revenue that helps not only this city council and your needs, helps the school system, it helps the community keep community downtown that's vibrant and up to date. It gives you money to fix roads and do other things with it. The concern I've got with this ordinance is it takes away a lot of the property rights from the people that have owned property downtown for generations, and it's going to keep them from being able to do what we were successful in doing here in the last 5 years. The only other comment I want to make is I'm concerned about the removal of short-term rentals in C1 and C2. It's a commercial zoning category. We, 4 years ago, bought property behind us in our building, $1 million homes that look to the back of the parking garage. Full intentions of using those for short-term rental. This ordinance removes short-term rentals from C1, which I don't understand. You have the ability with your year-to-year ordinance, if someone has a problem, short-term rental, you can refuse to give them a renewal of their certificate that allows them to collect the hotel motel tax and to function as a short-term rental. So you have a mechanism in place to police short-term rentals. I don't know why you would just summarily remove those from a commercial zoning. That's my, I guess, only comments. I appreciate your consideration in trying to protect, again, the property owners' rights that have owned and paid property taxes here for years.
John, I have a question.
Yes.
You said trackside is at 41 feet right now,
It
and then
is.
you were talking about the HVAC and all that. Would you have been at 35 if you didn't have all that?
We're 17 feet from deck to deck. You subtract the depth of the bar joist and your HVAC system, your ductwork below. We wanted to have a 12 to 13 feet height below the ductwork in each one of the levels. With the parapet walls that shade the HVAC systems on the roof and the reverse gables and the things we did, that has increased it. We might have been able to make 35 feet work, but certainly not as nice as it ended up being.
So could you have done the 35 feet with the 6-inch or 6-foot buffer that's currently there?
That would have gotten us to 41, so yeah, that
So that
probably
would have worked.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. I'm a woman, so I made mine much more personal, but my husband, I'm Jennifer Sims. We live, actually, I should change it, 86 Sloan Street, McDonough, Georgia, but we've owned property at 6561 Asker Road for 9 years. It's our second home. And we are looking to move, on a personal note, to Blue Ridge full-time next year is part of the plan. So we are here specifically tonight to address the dwelling lofts, the number, the 4-unit maximum of the dwelling lofts that you're proposing in the CBD area. We are property owners of Depot and 2nd Street, the lot just right here, your neighbor. And we are proposing to build a 4 in the current size in the codes and things like that. We've carefully over the last, months that we bought the property in 2022, carefully been working with the architect to create a building that's going to fit in with the vibe and the scene of the Blue Ridge town, the aesthetic that we've got going with that, because that's part of why we fell in love with the town. But we are in desire to build a mixed-use building that has 4 office spaces at the bottom, retail spaces at the bottom, and 2 stories. So we just are opposing or not sure the benefit of having only 4 lofts per building. 8 fits in, 2 stories. There's many buildings in town that have lofts that are more than 2 stories, 3 stories tall, to residential. So that is the part of the proposed codes that we, in particularly, are interested in keeping the 35-foot height, as long as the parapets and the that will give us the floor. It doesn't quite give us a little bit of the height floor that's desirable now in design, but The 35-foot height certainly we could work with. We have a buffer for the HVACs on top and the parapet design and things to cover those, much like the gentleman before me. But you know, as we know, walkable cities are the trend, the up and coming trend, and it's a huge part of and having urban dwellings within the walkable cities is what I think has helped push Blue Ridge in the last decade into what it is now. That's just what we love nature, but we love to come to town and spend the evening in town and do all the walkable things that we need to do in town to visit the restaurants and the wine bars and just the breweries, all the awesome things that have come. Well, it's, you know, a much more sustainable way to do it if we have walkable residences to do. So that's what we're proposing. It's just that the changes in the new codes don't change the loft styles. We're glad that you kept the mixed-use loft styles in there, but we just don't see the benefit in limiting it to 4 units per building versus 8 or 3 stories in the 35-foot height maximums. Any questions?
In your proposed structure is a new building, not
Yes.
a renovation, correct?
Excuse me?
Is a new building you're proposing?
It will be
No?
a new build.
Okay.
It'll be a new build, absolutely. New build, and I am all for the codes and things that have changed, so to keep Blue Ridge, the vibe that we've got going on. We don't want any more huge 109 room things. But I like that what we've got going with a 35 foot. It will be a new build, and it will help the pedestrian things, what the CBD is trying to do with the pedestrian traffic and things like that. Trying to keep the automobiles off the roads. The more people we can house here in town, the less cars we have coming into the CBD, out of the cabins and back to the cabins. Those are awesome too. We own one, we love it. But there is definitely a need and desire for residences, not just tourists, but people to live here full time. That's our desire. We're going to build a home in an R2 district pretty soon. That's going to be our full-time residence. So I love that we're protecting the residential districts and the way that we're doing that to keep those residential and the residential feels for those that have been here for a long time and the ones wanting to move in but have access to CBD.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Donna Thompson, 256 Mountain Hideaway. My concerns on the zoning changes are for property owners throughout this city. I'm going to speak a little bit more generically than speaking specific properties. In a direction with this ordinance that has a strong potential to infringe on the property rights. I am certain that you and the city council members are familiar with the recent discussions at the state level that are identifying local governments and their overly restrictive zoning regulations. If you are unaware, then know that the state is doing its research and considering legislative action. Personally, I do not want to see cities and counties lose their governing authority with zoning, but you have to be smart in your decisions with regard to zoning. I'm not opposed to all the changes that you're making, but there are a significant number that I am opposed to. The main concerns that I've had people talk to me about in the ordinance are the endless discussions over control, lowering heights in the R3 and the loss of mechanical space, the complete overhaul of R2, conditional use and variance, and the lingering concepts for what might be added back to by the council prior to the final vote on the 28th. I am involved with workforce and affordable housing. There are outlying areas in the city that can handle the higher density. And while the council touted their campaigning for controlled growth, what they did not mention, not even once, was that they all campaigned on support for workforce housing. Thus, we need to be cautious about restrictions with the higher density areas and their potential to impact the workforce accessibility to housing. This is a county that is driven significantly by tourism industry, which demands service workers. These are the numbers from 2021 from the Chamber. The economic impact of tourism in the county is $341 million. That accounts for overnight stays, shopping, recreation, food and beverage. Have the breakout if you want it. The service industry is a big deal here. So what happens when all those who serve in our workforce have no place to live, which we are currently seeing and have been seeing for several years? Ask some of our realtors what the median housing price is or what the median rental price is. I heard some numbers today and they were around an average of 2,000 or more for a rental. I urge you to consider the impacts to all property owners, but also consider the potential impact to our workforce because they are the backbone of our community. Last, I thank you that you listen to the citizens and we're open to having public comment. The last thing I would encourage you to do is to learn what the term detrimental reliance means.
Hello, I'm Julie Fitzqueen. I reside at 31 Redbird Trail in Blue Ridge, but I just own a building in town that I just bought from John Schwab, who actually used to reside on your board, I understand. And so I'm here obviously for personal reasons, but also on behalf of some of my clients. Been in business here over 20 years, love the community, hope to be a downtown resident eventually and stay that way. So this is of concern to me. I don't really come here on a particular matter, although when I bought my building, I know I went through an extensive due diligence to note what I could or could not do with it, and I kind of relied on that. And I'm sure a lot of the people who have short-term rentals or have bought properties that are zoned certain ways have done the same thing and have spent a lot of time and money on those things. And I understand there are changes that are needed due to changes with the economy and with the community. And I'm all for that. I'm all for controlled growth, most certainly. But I also believe you either progress or you regress. But I think as long as there's a plan in place, it's kind of hard to go wrong. So I think that I just come to you to appeal to you that maybe we do some further study before we make such big decisions for our community. I know you guys have put a lot of time into this, but in looking at some of the surrounding communities and their failures and in their successes, I think we stand to learn a lot maybe from them. And, you know, I know that everybody here ran on transparency, and the fact that we're going to move forward with voting on something that the community doesn't really even know that much about and are not being invited to come and speak on or have a say before the decision's made when it would affect them so greatly is just maybe not in the best interest of everybody. I feel like we also need to look at, and some other people have made comments on it as well, how this will affect not just, you know, our realtors, our business owners, our people in town that stand to maybe benefit from it, but think about your property owners here and how maybe some of them have hung on to their properties for years. They're getting to the time that they need to sell, and some of these things would affect their values tremendously because of what potential buyers could do with those properties or not. And lastly, some of my clients, I know when the short-term rental thing started, I certainly think that there needs to be regulations in place. You know, maybe we require that they have property managers, that it's not VRBO, so there's someone in town on site to handle issues, that there's a minimum age requirement for rentals. I know you guys don't want to turn into the police for short-term rentals, and I get that. So I think we can put things in place to help with that. But I know I have clients personally who bought with the intention of renting. Their properties were able to be rented. And I understand regulations have to be put in place. Maybe there's only a certain percentage of residents in town that can be short-term rental, whatever that may be. I'm not the expert there, but I know that they never received any notice until they received a cease and desist. And the response that they got was, hey, we ran something in the paper. Well, most of them don't live here, so they don't get the newspaper. And to me, it's as easy to mail a notice as it is a cease and desist notice, a notice saying, hey, you're not going to be able to rent your property anymore if you don't come in and get the proper permitting. So you guys have a huge job. I know that, and you can't please everybody. So I'm not here to criticize. I really don't like to be a part of the political scene or any of this, like some of my family does. I don't like that part of it, but I do want to be a part of the community. I love my business. I want to represent my clients well and the people of the community well. And I feel like this is very hasty to move forward in what we're talking about doing without more study and more input from the people. It's so much harder to undo something after it's done and we see that it's a problem than it is to just put a little more study into what we're doing. So I just ask that you take that into consideration. Also, the monies from the lodging and the downtown businesses that come into our school system. It doesn't just affect us business owners in town and us residents. The kids in the school systems, the employees, not just in the city, but in the county. If we are a tourist town, like it or not, if we shut that down to an extent, we don't have a need for any of those, for nearly as many of those employees anymore. Our kids suffer in the school systems, I think, and the equipment that they get. I just think there's much further reaching effects probably than maybe we've thought about in depth. So I just ask that you take that into consideration before you make a huge decision. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Without exception, we're going to add 10 more minutes to the clock.
I'll try not to take all of that.
Thank you.
I'm Rudy Pittman. My main residence is in Gainesville, but my brother Randy and we own 35 acres or so of commercial property across from Walmart, and I do have property in 412 Deerberry Drive, and that's where I split my residence time from Gainesville, my primary, to Fannin County up on Noontuckle Creek. So I do feel like I'm a local guy, born and raised in McKaysville, so I'm not strictly an outsider that's coming in to complain about this. We love Blue Ridge. We've always loved it, and we do understand something, and the effort being to control growth, control and preserve what Blue Ridge is all about. And you know, it's a great, nobody here needs to be told how great it is. But the concerns we have, you know, we talked about affordable housing and housing in general, and everybody knows, you know, it's not available, it's expensive. We have had projects proposed and under contract, looking at doing something in between the HUD low income to such as multi-family high density apartment, but do it on a super nice scale. And you know, the rents are probably in the $1,400 to $1,450 range is what we're looking at, as good as anything you'll see built anywhere in the country. And I think there's a need there that is being sort of overlooked, because there's the workforce here that is working, makes good money. They can afford that kind of rent, and they don't have to be in the very low end. I mean, it's just not available. And if they have to go try to find a house, you know, then they're paying more than that for something of less quality. And on top of that, then they have the added expense and burden of probably taking care of rental type house properties. So there's a real need even for that niche. And as far as what we see, the big deal is this 35 foot. I mean, if you go in there and you start talking to any kind of apartment developers, they got to make the numbers work, and especially now that interest's gone out the clock, and you know, so they can't do it on a 2-story complex, no matter what size it is, or a 3 even. So that's the biggest concern. Our opinion is, you know, you got to take care of the downtown district and preserve it. But when you get outside, like it says, on these main corridors and main thoroughfares, and you know, we ought to be able to develop what makes sense. And the only other thing I will say, we, as far as the moratorium, we've actually lost one deal just because it's taken so long. The first people couldn't even put application in, and we've ended up even in a lawsuit over that because it's strung out so long. And, you know, we thought we were gonna get to a point where we could move on with business. And, I'll just say that time is of essence here because everybody's just been put on hold of doing anything. And we've held this property for 20, 25 years to do something with it. It finally gets to a point that it makes sense and our hands are tied. So, I'm not saying that our end use right now is for multifamily, but it's a concern of a mixed use, whether it be commercial with multifamily in the back. That's the only use for it. With the property values at what they are, there's no other way to come out on property with what the cost is nowadays. So in closing, I would mainly put emphasis on that you gotta find some way to put some closure to this and move on. It's been going on, the moratorium's been going on forever. And we're on our second contract there, and he's having issues of whether he wants to stay in when it's time to renew because of the uncertainty. So other than that, I'll just relinquish my time. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Randall Pittman. That was my brother that just spoke. As he said, we have 35 acres across from Walmart and Home Depot. And he covered, we didn't get our heads together on what we were going to say, but he covered pretty much everything that I had to say, other than we need housing or apartments for these people that don't make that much money. The people that work your fast food restaurants. We can't forget about the young people that are every year coming into the workforce from school, and they can't buy right away. They've got to rent, and the last apartments I know of built of any magnitude were across from the Yellow Jacket there. That same gentleman owns several apartments, and they filled up just like that, and there's nothing available. And we need to remember these people, young people that work so hard, even going to school, look after it at night at these fast food restaurants and Walmart, wherever. And they're not making good money yet, so they can't rent a house. It's too high. And as another gentleman said, the property in Blue Ridge is so high. And building is there's been nothing under $200 square foot. And this little deal that we're in right now, once they get up there, they're not gonna come down. People are not gonna all of a sudden take half of the property they got to wait it out. Basically, we need to take care of those people, and I see apartments could be the rent be where they could afford it. These people that come out of school, work, start work, not make much money, and definitely aren't be buying. So I would just like to thank you and for your time and consideration, and as you consider taking care of those people.
Thank you.
Good evening, committee. Appreciate the time.
Excuse me, I didn't state your name and
My
address.
name is Trevor Aiken. I work at the Blue Ridge Housing Authority of 30th Street, Georgia.
Thank you.
We were discussing affordable housing, workforce housing. That is what I do. That is why we're here. I'm not gonna take too much time up, because I would like other property owners that have a chance to speak as well. But I echo a lot of the statements that have been made here. The changes that are being proposed in the R3 and R2 specifically that affect our existing properties that we currently own and operate on. We're a mixture. We have R3, we have R2. R2 would be the changes being proposed there would be absolutely detrimental to where we would not be able to redevelop our current property and buildings. Which is what, from my understanding, through an October 17th city council meeting, that's what they wanted to do. But based on those limits they're putting out there, we can't do that. We're one lot. We will have to subdivide every bit of that property in order just to build one home on that. 35 feet, as they say, is doable, but it's stretching it. It limits what you could really do to provide the green space, the comfortability, and the accessibility. We're in a mountain town. Topography is killing us. We have a problem meeting ADA compliancy. We need to be able to do that to provide it for the elderly and senior folks that absolutely depend on our housing to be able to live in this city. We didn't exist. They wouldn't be living here. That's 90 to 100 plus voters right there. It's super important to us that I feel, I can speak on behalf of our housing authority, that we ask that the committee, the city council, take the time and the due diligence to thoroughly go through all of this. Look at everything, provide more opportunities for people to come and speak, as opposed to just one. This is a massive change you guys are trying to get done here. And I feel like to allow people the most time to let them express their concerns is absolutely warranted at this point in time. I'm looking to the audience right now. I see three council members here that were here Thursday, and I don't see the others that were very adamant against or proposing these types of changes. I would think that this is such an important topic that every single one of them would be here to listen to what everybody has to say about it. And with that, I will my time. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? And I asked the question earlier, I know the answer, but I just want to ask it again for clarity to the audience. The lot size, say on R2 zoning, and what is proposed, say for a duplex example. A minimum lot here is 12 square feet. So if you have an acre property, 43,560 square feet, divide that by 12,000, that's how many duplex buildings you could have on that property. So a lot is not a single parcel of land, and that was one of my questions today. So that's, am I correct in stating that? So like in your example, Trevor, if it's one big parcel, it's really a total acreage calculation is how I understand it works, so. I asked the question, no, it's not. It's no, it's not.
All right, can't, hold on, this is not meant.
What I would suggest is, let's finish the public hearing. Okay. And then if there are questions from the commission staff, then we can try our best to answer those.
Hey, I am Ginger Rogers. I live in Georgia, and I appreciate you guys giving me time to speak. I attended the city council meeting a week or so ago, and one of the council members said that was not a meeting about affordable housing. But unfortunately, as everybody should understand, when you're talking about zoning and density, it becomes an issue of affordable housing. And so I just want to share with you guys, you can tell from my accent, I'm from here. I don't have a dog in this race, so to speak. But I went on a few different websites today to gather information about job openings. And these are openings that they don't just deal with the City of Blue Ridge. City of Blue Ridge gave their firefighting capabilities over to the county. And so I think this affects everybody. Fannin Regional Hospital, as of this morning, had 51 job openings. The City of Blue Ridge is advertising for full-time and part-time police officers. I don't know how many. The council's here, you could ask them. Fannin County is advertising job openings for firefighters, paramedics, EMS, sheriff, detention officers, public works laborers, and youth development. The Department of Education in Fannin County has 15 job openings right now. Pruitt Health, which has the Blue Ridge nursing home, 26 job openings. So for people that feel like affordable housing is only going to affect you because of servers and waitresses and bartenders downtown, try calling if your house is on fire and there's not a firefighter there, or if you've been broken into and a police officer cannot respond. These are things that affect all of us. Another thing I heard at the city council meeting was they wanted to limit growth because they wanted to keep our city quaint. I'm from here. Quaint is a word that bothers me a lot because it's very subjective what it means. What does that mean? Is that something you can put in law that you want it to be quaint? Does quaint mean that only wealthy people can live here? Or does it mean that you want to keep it small and sleepy? Because if you want to keep the town small and don't want it to grow anymore, I would suggest that the City of Blue Ridge maybe rethinks the $200,000 they're giving Chamber of Commerce every year to promote tourism. I would suggest that if you want to keep the area quaint, that the county stops giving the Chamber of Commerce $2.5 million a year to get people to come in. So it all is very subjective to me at that part. The state of Georgia, I've looked up several different lawsuits that have come before the state of Georgia in regard to zoning. And one thing keeps popping up. State of Georgia says zoning restrictions should bear a substantial relationship to the public safety, the public health, and the general welfare of the people. So when you start doing height restrictions or appearance restrictions, does that really play into public health and public safety of your people? Or when I think about public health, I think if my house catches on fire and I call EMS, I want a firefighter there. That's public health to me. But people are going to need to make a choice here. And the median price on a house, according to the Georgia Association of Realtors in December, in Fannin County, was $632,000. So the job openings that I just mentioned, who's going to be? I don't think they're going to pay enough to qualify to live here. Thank you.
Thank you.
few folks here tonight. My name is David Haight. I live at 1050 East Main. My family and I have property in Blue Ridge for over 130 years. We have various properties throughout the city limits. All right. My topic tonight, and I will try to be very short, that way others can speak, is the R2. Everybody has spoke about affordable housing. I campaigned very hard for quite a few council members for affordable housing. And I apologize to each and every one of y'all for them not upholding what they said they would do. It means a lot to me for this affordable housing. And my type of affordable housing is almost what Ginger Rogers spoke of. Is affordable housing where we can build duplexes and quadruplexes for 300,000, maybe 250,000. We have people call our real estate office all the time looking for homes. And once Ginger says, we don't have that, folks. We don't have that. We have a major problem right now at our health department. Monica Hoskins is retired. People know Monica Hoskins. All right. They cannot keep up. We are 2 years behind on health inspections. We are 3 to 4 weeks behind on septic inspections. All right. The money's there. The mayor is on the board of that particular place. I've talked to the mayor. The money's there. They had somebody come in a few months ago, and once they found out what it cost to live, they had to turn the job down. So we have a major problem. So with this new ordinance right here, it takes away duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, all the plexes. All right. But duplexes and townhomes require conditional use approval from the city council. We all know what the city council is going to say about doing something to help people. So my point being is, in order for us to get affordable housing for $250,000, $300,000 type projects, we have got to focus on not stripping all the rights from R2. I've talked to several R2 members, quite a few of them in this audience. Teresa Haymore is one. Teresa Haymore. I talked to her today. She is very concerned about her rights being stripped and her property values going down. And I apologize, Teresa. We need to help folks like, she is a salt of Blue Ridge. All right? There's not a better person than the painters and Haymores. What have we done? We have stripped the rights off of these folks right here. All right? We've done that. So I'd like to go on. This is very interesting. And I commend the council. Angie Arp is very hard on this. She has put hours and hours into this. It's great. Okay. But I don't know if we're quite ready to vote on this, folks. If you start looking at principal uses, we can do adult business. Adult business is allowed in our area. I don't know what adult business is. I haven't got an answer. Okay. I've contacted every city council person. I've contacted the mayor. The mayor responded to me. Dr. Whaley's responded to me. But I'm not getting any answers from any other city council person. All right. We can do go-kart tracks. We can have pulpwood manufacturing. Has anybody ever been to Birmingham, Alabama? Do we want pulpwood manufacturing, folks? We can do landfills. We can do landfills in the city of Blue Ridge. We can have sewage dumping stations. Okay. There's a host of stuff. We want to go through 120 something pages tonight. I've been reading. I don't know if our council's read it. They say they're ready to vote on this. Okay. They don't want to hear. This is it, guys. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity right here. All right. The meeting's next Tuesday. The agenda's out. You can't speak, but you're more than welcome to come. You're more than welcome to reach out to these folks. Good luck. Getting a return phone call. Okay. I can't get one, but I don't know. But anyway, that's it. I'm just concerned about affordable housing. I apologize for my campaign promises with the councils that I helped elect. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Let's go with 10 more. We've got three more speakers. We're gonna add yet another 10 minutes to the clock, and that's it. So I encourage the remaining three speakers to get to the point quickly.
Thank you for hearing us and for hearing these people what's said. My name's Jim Goss. I'm from Duluth, Georgia. Grew up here. My family, my wife's family, long-time city of Blue Ridge. Stalwarts of the community since at least the mid-40s. We have to have affordable housing. You gotta find a way to make it work. And that's all I'm gonna say about that, because so many people covered it already. But we were, I think family has a lot in downtown Blue Ridge that we've had for a long time, been in the family for a long time. We've considered developing, but at the time, development costs were restrictive. We've considered selling, and we've had it under contract. And that terminated one building moratorium, and then now the ceiling heights. We don't want to do something that is detrimental to the look and feel of what we have in a great downtown area. But I have a question. If you have a lot and you are able to initially build a four-floor, 60-foot building, and then that ceiling height got reduced to 35 feet, what did that do to the value of your property? We already had that. We took that. And if you want to try to do it again, there's going to be some pushback because it is a direct impact on what's happening to us value-wise, on the value of our property. It is impacting property rights for not just us, but think about the other people that may have owned properties downtown for a long time, and maybe those buildings are older. They want to come in and do something to update those buildings. We're being too restrictive. No, there needs to be regulation. We get that. All we want to get you to hear is please consider that you're impacting a lot of people with these. It takes time to work through these types of zoning changes. We were not in favor of the reduction from 60 to 35 feet. But we didn't raise a stink about that because maybe we wanted to kind of participate in saying, okay, there needs to be some control over the development in downtown. But at the same time, there's a limit to that. It needs to be considered for not just a small scope, but a large scope of what's going to happen for the future. What the decisions that you make on this is going to impact us for years. And not just us, then the next generation as well. So we want to thank you for listening. I appreciate all these people and what they've said, and hope you'll consider what we're saying.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like I get closing. First of all, I want to commend many people who spoke. Young lady in the red sweater makes some points, and I want to congratulate Queen on making some excellent points too. And I just want to say something, expound on those, along with the provisions set forth by the lady concerning zoning. There should be a compelling interest before you encumber or hamper property owners' rights. That's what standard is. It's not let's elect and just throw the puzzle up in the air and say, land. That's not, state law says. There has to be compelling interest before you affect people's property rights. It's not just, oh, this is what people want. That's not the way it works. Because this country was favored on what? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the property rights are one of the most nearest and dearest things we can possibly have. With that being said, the other thing that's been pointed out is the lack of transparency, the lack of communication. If you've got a council that won't hear from the public, they all ran from door to door, they screamed from the pulpits. Oh, we hear you, we've got your back, we're gonna represent the city, all of y'all, we're gonna be here, come to the meeting, but don't speak. What is it, Soviet Russia? Is that what you do? Come. You can be seen but not heard in this country? Is that the way it is? Surely. You asked for the job. It might have to be there for 4 hours. But look, I've been both attorney and I've been a judge. There's been times when I had cases. I asked for the job. We vacated at 8 o'clock at night, but cases had to be heard. Issues had to be resolved. And I think when it comes to something like property rights, people should be able to voice their opinions at public meetings. Because when you run for office, you didn't run saying, when I get elected, I'm going to propose this. This was done after you're elected. So now that we've had a chance to review this, why can't we ask questions about it? Why can't we address it in a public forum? You're saying that these people that own property have no right to speak? Seriously? In this country? No. That doesn't work that way. The other thing is that disturbing me is one thing that I read about this was idea of conditional zoning. In other words, if you want to build a townhouse or something, that you could bring it back to council and it would be conditional. In other words, if you want to build a townhouse in R2 or R3, then it would be conditional. Well, folks, that's been changed this year. The Supreme Court just can't have conditional housing. Somebody needs to leave their homework. Thank you.
Is that the last speaker? It's the last speaker, Davey. The only people that signed up. It's not the purpose of this meeting. It's not. Well, everybody that signed up has had the opportunity to speak or has either yielded their time. So, since we've gone through all the speakers, this meeting is closed.
Now, let's discussion. Commission. No. They all needs to be. So the first thing is what? First thing is you as a group have a chance to discuss or ask questions
All right, is there any discussion, members of the commission?
Yes. I'll go first. I'm gonna have to agree with Julie. That all this came about pretty fast. From the initial inception, which is just a few weeks ago, to the final draft that we got literally 2 days ago. And I agree with pretty much everybody here. These changes are huge. And the one thing that nobody has talked about in the public know is we have yet to establish where the height is based from. The council has not told us yet. And so if you go down Main Street to the end, from the old Mustard Seed building to Harvest on the 500 block or 500 building, from Main Street to Roberts Way, there's probably a good 15-foot difference. And it would change these numbers drastically. And so I don't know how we could possibly make a motion on this or recommendation when we don't even really know where we're measuring from. I mean, that's my opinion on it. And I do think there should be a little bit more public input. However that needs to be, whether it's public comment from the council or allowing public comment at the council meeting. I think that would be a very wise decision. But I think, without knowing how we're measuring, I don't know how we can say 30, 35, 45, whatever. That's my thoughts.
And I agree with that. You know, like Brian said, we haven't had a lot of time to absorb this. I've spent the last 3 days just trying to cram as much reading and questions and information gathering as I can. And I'm not comfortable with all this. Some of it, I'm the language component of it in the beginning. I'm perfectly fine with it. A lot of it's cleaning up language. But when we get into the zoning regulations and height restrictions, things like that, I just don't have it. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm certainly not comfortable with the city council approval on the R2 zoning. I mean, and they all know that. I've talked to them. I mean, if you're gonna make it zoning, you have duplexes, put duplexes in there in townhomes, and that's it. I mean, there's no condition of city council. That was zone. So I think that makes it really wishy-washy there. So, and again, one of my Brian brought up a point. Where is the height measured? Is it an average? Is it low ground, the high ground? Where's the height measured? So I think to me, you know, I'm a landscape architect. We do a lot of design work. To me, it's more about scale and proportion than it is height and material details and things like that. If you want the quaint town we're asking for, it's really about making the maybe some building standards, more architectural standards, which are non-existent in any of this. So I honestly don't know how to respond to this tonight, other than I don't know if we table it or if we I can't approve it the way it's right now. I can't comfortably do that.
I believe what I have to ask for a motion. Entertain the motion.
Unless there's further discussion.
Any further discussion?
My definition about the lot size. What is the lot size? Well, I learned today a lot size is based on the 12 for duplex is 12,000 square feet per lot. But so we're talking about Seymour. She's 3.62 acres. I've written down here. So was that one duplex on 3.62 acres, or she 3.66 times an acre and then divide and do all the math? So that was what the answer I was given. That was a little better than the one unit, the one lot. So I look at one lot, and I thought it was just a piece of property. So I think there needs to be some clarity in definitions. It's just there's a lot of gray areas in this that I'm not comfortable with. So. And we weren't involved in the planning process. The planning commission wasn't involved in planning zoning. I mean.
Yeah. All right.
We weren't invited.
Folks, do I have a motion to approve the package as submitted?
Not for me.
Is there any motion to be made?
I would like to, we could break it down piece by piece. I think there needs to be a motion to table it. And I guess that would be our next meeting. We have that deadline.
Yeah. And I would second that.
If we table it, it does not go back to the city council. It comes back to us at our next meeting, as you pointed out. Do you think what's the value of tabling it?
Time to learn it. I think for me, I just need to learn. I need to understand it. I need to learn it. I hear from councilmen what everybody's after. I mean, everybody's zeroed on height. I've heard a lot more than height today. I've heard a lot more than height. And I've talked to friends of mine that again, we haven't had a lot of time. And we've only had a few days to really take all this in and try to absorb it.
So do I have a second the motion to table?
I would second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, I want everybody to understand, I'll ask the city attorney to correct me if I misspeak. What we have just done is tabled this whole package. All that has done is postponed it until March 16th, I believe. Where this group will have to reconsider it again. So I just want to be sure that everyone's expectations of what we're doing tonight is clear.
All right, what will happen now is that the package will go back to the planning commission at the next meeting. Per the existing ordinance, they have 45 days to act on it. So if there's no recommendation at the next meeting, it will go to the mayor and council without a recommendation.
So we have to 16th to.
That's correct.
But to her question, is there the opportunity for council to modify what we're looking at, or is it this?
The council doesn't have the opportunity.
So we can get our motion of amendments to this together in that time frame, March 16th. We have that opportunity.
I think as planning commissioner, you can certainly consult staff about particular parts of the ordinance. And if in deciding at your next meeting, it's really about three things, four things you can do. You can recommend approval, you can recommend denial, you can recommend approval with certain changes to what staff has proposed. You won't be able to table it again because it will go to the mayor and council without a recommendation. There is no recommendation at the next meeting.
Well, that would be very helpful for me, just that extra time, because I could put all my amendments in writing.
Chuck,
So you do realize that the council cannot take action until you make a recommendation, one way or another. So we'll prolong the moratorium.
That was the point I was trying to make. We're kicking the can down the road.
Well, there's been a motion.
No, we've got a motion on the floor that's been seconded. So and voted on. So it is effectively tabled until March 16th. And at that time, we will either have submitted recommendations to the council, or we will approve it or disapprove it. If we fail to do anything, then the council has the authority to accept it or deny it. We own, this body only makes a recommendation. That's exactly right.
Chuck, again, getting back to the standard of measurement, whether it's high, low, wherever, that is not in here, can the council vote on that before, say the meeting Tuesday? Or somehow get it to us within that 45-day period?
Well, let me for
March 16th.
And, see what can be done.
We literally, these numbers don't mean anything if we don't know where to base them.
Well, we have a history of zoning laws, right? So it's not like there's not a history of how those determinations are made.
Well,
I discussed that later.
Yeah, we just need to know.
Okay, you can adjourn.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second. We're adjourned.